All right, welcome everyone. I am Persephone, the CEO of the Media Socialites. We are a 360 marketing agency specializing in a luxury audience, and we become well known for a lot of the brands that you know in luxury weddings and events. But what we really specialize is in that audience. And so today, one of the biggest challenges that we're going to conquer today, and hopefully leave you feeling like we have a plan of action, is our clients come to us asking us for high net value clients and more qualified leads. And so today we're providing you with the blueprint for what exactly to do in 2026 as we are all facing this problem and we want to make sure that you are set up for success. All right, so let's dive on in. So today we will cover the power of an integrated marketing ecosystem, redefining what the luxury funnel really looks like, paid media, web, and CRM, and really thinking about that as a unified force versus in silos. I'll provide you with some real world strategies and case studies that we have successfully executed. And then lastly, I will leave you with little personalized audit. So when I started this business several years ago, it started as a social media agency. And prior to starting the Media Socialites, I was the VP of partnerships at Wedding Wire for 10 years, where a lot of the things that we're doing today, actually, I've been applying for my entire career. It's just bringing it to the forefront for businesses, small, medium, and large businesses to really function and think this way is more important than ever. So subsequently, again, the Media Socialites 8 years ago started as social, and we have continued to shape and evolve into being a 360 marketing agency because we have to go where attention is. And the smarter our clients are getting, the smarter each generation is getting, the more we have to be more methodical and intentional with every single messaging touch point possible. So when you're thinking about the next year, this is really what I want you to think about. We cannot be thinking about one channel or relying on our laurels and on our name. I want you to put yourself in a less vulnerable position on only focusing on social media or only focusing on one thing and thinking about the future. All right, so how are we going to achieve that? Now, I love a good stat. 36%, according to recent industry data, says that companies with well-defined marketing aligned funnels will see up to 36% of customer conversion and retention rates compared to those without. So what does that mean? If you're saying any of the following things, we're relying on word of mouth, but it's just not enough, or our inquiries are up, but they aren't our level of client, or we're posting a lot, but it's not translating into booked revenue, you're leaving money on the table both now and in the future. And so we really need to get ourselves away from just thinking again in silos. Now, as you're planning for 26 and even some work that you can do today, I want you to be thinking about an integrated approach. So, luxury brands have to have several components in order to make sure that they're getting in front of the right person. And we'll talk about exactly how to do that. But we're going to break down ads, website, and CRM and how you can nurture all three pieces in order to make sure that you're finding your ideal client. Now, if you've been neglecting your website, this is going to be eye-opening. If you've been boosting random posts and not thinking about audience, this is also going to be eye-opening. Luxury brands don't want to speak to everybody. They want to only speak to that right person. And so my biggest takeaway for you today is exactly this. When we're speaking to a true luxury audience, we're speaking from a place of presumption that they can afford what you are selling. That is an enormous distinguishing factor between a luxury brand versus a premium brand. And the truth is, your message is always going to connect with those who can actually identify themselves in the message if it's done correctly. Now, no matter what size your business is, all three must be in place because you must speak to your past, present, and future. And this format will allow this to transpire and hold true. So this is the visualization of the consumer journey. So how many of you would consider like the auberge, the Faena? Lily, I see you on here. We met at the Faena, or Chanel luxury brand. This is like obvious, right? all luxury brands, they all utilize these strategies and they're all talking to a very specific group of people, right? Like they run ads, they do these things, they send emails. Just brought something from Dior a couple days ago, and I'm getting hit up email after email, ad after ad, trying to have me buy other things and engage with me in other ways. So it doesn't mean that we are losing personalization. It doesn't mean that they're talking to the masses. They're actually really catering what they are trying to say to me very specifically and take me on a journey. And even if you're a very small business or you work for a hotel or a venue, or a law firm, or wherever you fall, all of this is relevant because even though this is how big brands operate, it is applicable to any size brand. It's just like how you do this is really important. So we really need to start by focusing on the story that you're telling versus selling. And I think that is often something that for me is so cringeworthy on social media. We see people saying like, all right, click like book with me now in bio. Like, no, 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 no. We know what you're trying to do. And if they're interested, they know where to go. And so we really don't want to be doing that. We want to be showing you and your process and what makes you special and what makes you unique and how you operate so that you're connecting with that group of people only. So when it comes to this journey, from awareness to research to decision making and then loyalty. When we're thinking about awareness, we're talking about paid, we're talking about organic, and we're also going to talk about word of mouth in there too, because if someone has heard about you, they're going to go to these different places in order to validate you. At this point, again, lots of businesses start by word of mouth, but it all comes down to validating those experiences in other locations, right? So then they're doing research. So that means going to your website and they want to make sure that like what they're seeing lines up with what they've heard. We'll talk about when there's disconnect, what that does to your ideal audience. It's not good. And then discernment and decision. So how are they qualifying you? How are you also educating them? What is the pre-sale process? So a lot of you probably today received an email from us or several emails, especially if you aren't a partner of TMS, warming up the conversation, like to have an additional conversation with my team or to like explore other things that TMS offers. This is how we are showing that we care and that we're educating you on, what we can do at large. It's the same, right? Your proposal experience is really important. I am so militant about this for our team. And it's something that I think is really, really important and can differentiate you from your competitors. Everything that we do is custom. And so I think a proposal needs to also be custom and reflect the level of care and nuance that you should expect in the experience that you're going to get with me. And then in the delivery of, what we're doing together. The same holds true for your businesses and how you do that. I'm not saying to dilute your brand, but really being thoughtful that you put time and effort and energy, especially if you're selling like a service that you need to have minute detail and that's like what you're selling, then this is a great way to showcase that because people aren't doing that. Lastly, when it comes to building loyalty, we want to surprise and delight people. And that's a huge initiative for us over the next year. It's something we started this year and something we're going to continue to propel moving forward. But that can mean everything from just celebrating someone's birthday to sending someone something small when you think about them, or, obviously like all of the celebrations in between, someone gets engaged or has a baby, like that to me feels obvious. But this is really where you can also drive referrals. So when you're thinking about loyalty, we're also talking about the post-booking experience. So for planners, because I know some of you are on here, think about this as your clients' friends, their sisters, their family members. I know a lot of you do a lot of business in that capacity. Same if you're a venue. Again, like same as a whole, right? When we have such a wonderful experience, we want to sing it from the rooftops. Some of us will go to social to share that, but just from a, human to human perspective, we want to share that experience. The same holds true when it's a bad experience. So obviously you want to leave people feeling amazing and wanting to sing your praises from the rooftops. All right, so this might be surprising. 96% of website visitors are not ready to buy when they first visit your website. So if you don't have Google Analytics set up on your website right now, that is step one. I need you to do that. It will be your roadmap. We'll touch on it in a deeper form here shortly, but this underscores the point of needing to nurture your clients, your potential clients, because think about it. Like, think about when you're making a big purchase, which frankly, every single one of us on here, we're all expensive. So if we're all expensive, then that means that they also need to do some research and evaluate the decision. So that is why when you take someone from social and an ad to the website, to then creating a CRM to convert them over time, think of the CRM, customer relationship management system. That is really important to help take all of your energy that you've invested in bringing that one person over for the first time to continue to re-engage them and think about how you can say something different. And I'll show you some specific examples in a second. So in luxury, again, the sale doesn't happen when someone just clicks. So it is not just one channel. I think about this as like, how can you flirt with your potential client appropriately across like in a multitude of different ways. So when we think about a luxury client, we're thinking about how they're bookmarking, they're screenshotting, they're lurking, they're comparing, they're asking their friends, they're on Reddit, they're on TikTok. Like, this is our natural behavior, right? So we want to make sure that when you are speaking to them, that they feel like they're being chosen and not sold to. Such an important distinction. Again, if you're speaking to a luxury or ultra luxury audience, you never have to say, book with me, call me. Like it's a given. So they don't necessarily fill out your inquiry form until they feel confident that you are the one. And that's also really, really important because again, we're all squirrels. Like that's the truth. Our attention is that of a squirrel. So how can you continue to engage them appropriately and make sure that you're staying top of mind? All right. So this is kind of what the funnel looks like. And again, we're taking them from awareness, research, decision, and loyalty. So how many of you have seen a TikTok page or an Instagram page that looks so incredible? And then you've gone to their website. It can be anything like e-commerce, hotel, and it looks janky, for lack of a better word. Oh, can you guys mute yourself? The moment this happens, you lose trust. It's all psychology. So you don't want that to happen. You want to make sure that the website matches the social experience and that as you're bringing people down the funnel and they're getting closer and closer to making a decision, that it's all uniform. When there's breaks in this, you lose market share, you lose opportunity, and frankly, you have created mistrust in a place where you're like, I just spent all this time, money, energy, resources creating a killer Instagram page, and now my website looks not it. It has to change. So the key things that you need to be thinking about as it pertains to luxury brands and how they get kind of lost is inconsistent messaging. I'm just gonna like name the puppy, okay? If you have someone who doesn't understand how to speak to a luxury audience, someone who is maybe using ChatGPT, and we can all sniff that out, like use it as a tool. But if they are copying and pasting from ChatGPT and it feels generic and the messaging is off, it's not good. If the ads feel a certain kind of way, they feel aspirational and the website feels generic because you've spent too much time focusing on this thing and not about what the experience looks like when they actually land there, that creates mistrust. If there's no personalization to the process, like there's no point of view and you feel like any other venue, any other planner, like if you feel like I don't know what my point of differentiation is, you have to get a professional, not just saying us, anybody, to give you an honest, constructive perspective because you're losing market share and there's always something special about you. There's hundreds of thousands of different marketing agencies in the world. There's lots and lots of venues. There's lots of everything. Everything is technically saturated, but the truth is that we all have our unique point of view, our unique perspectives, and we can find our people and our community. It's just how in which we message that is so critically important. So we need to match intent when it comes to awareness ads. And we'll go deep dive on ads all day long in a second. But when it comes to ads, like how can we make it so that where they're landing, whether it's a landing page or your website, feels editorial and special and like it's speaking to them? How can we make sure that these services that we are calling out in those ads match where we're dropping them? This is also very important. And that every single stage of your process and the journey together as partners is also clearly identified. I'm going to also say this since a lot of you are in the events industry, that one of the biggest issues I'm seeing right now is that we're hiding our process because we think our competitors are going to take our stuff or that we're going to give away our secret sauce. Your sauce is your sauce, and anyone can try to copy it, but you are one of one. And by just stating how you work with someone clearly and concisely, which seems so obvious, that's actually going to give you an edge because everyone is hiding that right now. So that is my perspective. That is like, if you see any rhetoric online, particularly if you go down the depths of Reddit, you're finding this is the narrative, and it is so easy to change that. So again, biggest takeaway from all of this as it pertains to the funnel is within every single break in the journey, it's an invitation for doubt. So this is really critically important and something that, again, we have to change moving forward. 79% of marketing leads never convert at all. Makes me nauseous, often due to a lack of nurturing or funnel optimization. So again, luxury clients are not price shopping. They are identity shopping. They want to know that they are connecting with you. That is totally different. There are lots of people with money out there, lots and lots of people with money out there, but you need to make sure that you're answering this question. Does your brand align with who they are? And this is the true difference, again, between a luxury brand and a premium brand. And just for clarification, I'm saying premium brand as anyone who is, trying to cater to more of a mass audience. All right. Now, media. So if you are new here, and if you're not new here, you've probably heard me talk about paid ads endlessly. And one of the things that can you guys mute yourself? One of the things that I continue to underscore for this year and kind of changed our own strategy in 2025 and certainly beyond is I'm getting high on my own supply. And what does that mean? We're actually exercising and applying every single thing that we're talking about here to ourselves. And that starts with paid ads. So paid ads, I think, gets a really bad rap because once upon a time, it was a tool that was used by people who were just boosting posts, unfortunately, and really speaking to a lovely audience. Paid media does not dilute luxury. Bad content does. If you have, I think I can swear on here. If you have shitty content, it's going to have shitty performance. And that's just the truth. So the key to great paid media, and this is on Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, Google, is being so deliberate and so intentional with your messaging and your targeting. And that really does take an extreme level of expertise. It's really very hard to chat GPT how much information and knowledge and optimization you need in order to do this successfully. So again, we want to make sure that we are preserving the exclusivity of your brand by the visuals that we're presenting, the messaging, and then also where we're dropping them. So again, this means that we are not speaking to everybody. If your ad is going out to anyone who is engaged, that ain't it. if it's speaking to anyone who has a household income of X, that's not it either, right? So we need to be so deliberate down to zip code, down to household income, down to their job titles. Like this is all possible, and this information is all very possible and achievable. We also want to make sure that when we are speaking to this audience that we're using fewer words and the right words. Because again, there's a lot of signals of level of taste and also of it's less is more. We've all heard that, right? It's really very, very true. And so we need to show them versus tell them as it pertains to an ad. I think having one hero visual is really, really critically important versus a collage or when you're like having too many video clips that you feel like you're going to seize. That is also not the way to approach an ad as it pertains to anything on Meta or TikTok specifically. What is also super helpful here is how can we use social proof? So whether this is like press mentions or any sort of very popular projects. So this is where you can actually look at what's working really well on social and utilize it as a jumping off point. Like if people know you for this specific event, use that because it's considered a legacy project. So how can we make sure that we are showing social proof versus bragging? That's also, and again, lots of you are in the events industry. There's a very, very hard line there, and sometimes the pendulum swingeth too far. All right. Last couple of pieces here. So it's important to storytell. And I always say that, and I've been thinking about, okay, well, if you've heard me say that and you don't know what I mean by that, I'm talking about your founder's story. I'm talking about how you can show emotion without, again, saying like writing it out, because that's what luxury buyers are going to connect with is the emotional connection. And that is really also very scalable. When we show vulnerability in any capacity, that is also something that's going to draw attention. And that can be of your clients, you're showing them the space and their reactions. It can be a myriad of different things. And this is something that we can sidebar off on because I can walk you through specific examples on how best to storytell. But if you take nothing else away from today, I want you to show versus tell. And that can be also, you doing things. It can be a voiceover if you're not comfortable talking to the camera, which I do not recommend talking to the camera oftentimes when we're talking to this specific audience. I think it's getting to the point where it's a little cringe and it's a little too accessible. Like not for an ad. Like, please do not. All right. So I'm going to leave you with this when it comes to paid media. When it comes to luxury paid media, storytelling earns attention and data decides where to double down. What this means is that if you are really paying attention to the numbers and the data and where people are actually the ads and the creative and the messaging that they're actually connecting with, then you can move dollars and energy towards that. So you can also take that piece of information and change things on your website to adapt to that, change your sales process to really, again, double down on what people are responding to, because therein lies where you will find your right people. All right. So 147%, when it comes to retargeting, this is like such a core piece of media and CRM integration. This can increase the rates of conversion by 147%. I read that all and mixed it all up. Then when you're retargeting those people, you can increase that by 70% as well. So what do all of these things mean? I'm sure you've all been on a website or you've been on an adjacent website. So say, for example, I am looking to book a hotel in, Tulum, and I'm on a couple of different properties websites or just one, or I've been searching, on ChatGPT or on Instagram, and I land on the Rosewood Mayakoba, and then the Rosewood Mayakoba continues to follow me wherever I decide to go. Like that is retargeting. So that is going to continue to reinforce your message. Then, if you take it a step further and you're actually building a CRM and building funnels with email templates that connect with that person, then you can message them after they have left your website with messaging that's going to connect. So, for example, in that instance, you can message them about if I was looking at a wedding specific page on the Rosewood Mayakoba, I can get wedding specific messaging in my inbox so that it's relevant for me to continue to push me to submit an inquiry if I haven't already. So it's so, so important to think about retargeting as not just being super aggressive, but that luxury buyers need reassurance and not just reminders. That is such an important takeaway here. Again, we're not trying to like bonk them over the head. That is not elegant whatsoever. All right. So I think one thing that has gone a little distorted for 2025, and I started to see this at the end of last year, but it just started to come to a head because everyone is on social media and there has been so much prioritization on social media. We've kind of forgotten to integrate these other ways of connecting with people. And it's almost like we doubled down too hard on this one thing. I'm not saying to not use it as a tool, but what I am saying is to think about social media as the new entry point where discoverability happens, where validation happens, but it's an entry point, right? So what we want to do is make sure that even though it's a touch point, and same with ads, same with, but yeah, specifically social and ads, we still need to tailor our messaging, even if it is going to be seen by more than just your ideal audience. Again, it will connect if you're using emotion first, if your context and your captions make sense, and it's not just like book a call, book a call. Please don't. Like none of that makes sense. Furthermore, I really encourage you to think deliberately about how you're showing up on different social channels. Specifically, you should not be copying and pasting the same thing across LinkedIn and TikTok and Pinterest, like, and Instagram. That doesn't work. It has actually never worked, but it's showing up, it's never going to connect deeper with someone who's on TikTok when TikTok is more like organic and authentic and doesn't like the perfectly polished. Use that as a way of showcasing your personality more. Use that as a way of showing more of the behind the scenes. If you're in catering, how can you show the process to create, how many people does it take in order to produce one singular event for 20 people, let alone 2,000 people? Like that's how we need to be thinking about these different things. Then when it comes to audiences specifically, we know that not everyone needs to see the same message. So again, we need to think about how we can curtail and optimize our messaging to connect with those different cohorts of audiences. Because the truth is, a lot of us have a couple different people that we're trying to talk to, whether it's because of the services that we're trying to speak to or because of, the different demos that we're looking at. Like that messaging cannot be a blanket because even as I'm sitting here with you, there's about 7 to 8 different types of businesses on this call right now. So we need to continue to finesse that message so it speaks to that core audience. Now, lastly, when it comes to what exactly we're doing here, we need to make sure that we are able to track all of this data. And this is done through UTMs. UTMs then drive a conversion, and then you can again nurture them through CRM. So, my biggest thing for 2026 is if you can't track it, you can't scale it. And so, if you're spending money in places just because that's always where you've spent money, and I get this a lot, I'm in Dallas. A lot of people still spend money on magazines because everyone has always done that, or frankly, wedding wear than not because that's what everyone has always done. If you're not seeing a real conversion, don't be scared to remove that thing because you can spend that money, time, energy, and resources on something that you can actually track. And for better, for worse, like we do live in a place where we can really see that when we spend this amount of money, we can get this in return. So when it comes to luxury brands, we're not guessing anymore. And like that feels so empowering that we don't have to rely on other people to talk about us. We just have to be really methodical on every single thing that we do in order to book the right people. Now, just to again clarify a couple last little points here. So UTMs allow you to see, it allows you to see where exactly your clients are, and specifically booked clients are coming from. So it's basically like very specific and deep insight on where that traffic is originating. So oftentimes people will say, like, all of my traffic is coming from Instagram, like nothing is coming from TikTok. If you haven't done anything on TikTok, of course, that's where that's going to come from, right? Or everything is coming from word of mouth. Nothing has ever worked on social media. Well, if you've never had a strategy, then yeah, like you need some benchmark as far as how to tie it all together and make sure that you are able to see where that traffic is originating from. Okay. So tracking doesn't cheapen luxury, it protects it. All right. Now, from a website perspective, Marcel, my dog, is all of a sudden wanting to be very vocal. He never barks. Today he wants to bark. So when it comes to website as a conversion engine, think about this. You have looped in your client from social or from an ad, and then you have that drop. So the user lands on a website that just feels like flat. It feels like you are, a lot of people have over-indexed on social media and they're forgetting that this is really where we need to get people so that they are submitting, an inquiry. This is really, really important for us to refocus on. Is your website mobile friendly? Is the copy reading how you want it to? Like, this is important for us to make sure that we're guiding our ideal client through that experience. And so I'm going to walk you through one of our clients, Julian Lever, and right at the beginning, his website rather, right at the beginning, it states what he does, that he's a luxury destination wedding planner and designer. Then it leads you into what you can expect. Show-stopping designs, intentional plans, unforgettable experiences. He has social proof from third parties. He's consistently providing you with imagery of all sorts, and then he guides you in a few different styles of events. And throughout, he's integrated different places with which you can contact him or submit an inquiry. He's utilizing testimonials. He's introducing his team. All of this is very thoughtfully done. If it feels effortless, we all know that everything that feels effortless takes a hell of a whole lot of effort. So the seamless integration and calls to action throughout is very intentionally done and incredibly, incredibly effective. He's giving you everything that you need to know actually right on this page and bringing you to that point of like, is this person right for me or not? Okay, so we need to talk about landing pages. This is something that we've been doing and getting a lot of our partners to do, frankly, because if your website and you're not ready to do a whole overhaul of a website, which you should seriously consider, but it's important for you to think about it like this. If your website isn't prepared for the eyeballs that you want to see and convert, then we need to bring them somewhere. On average, people are only converting 2.9% of all the traffic. Like all of the people that they're bringing, only 2.9% of that is actually converting. Now, when you have specific messaging, so again, say I am a venue and I'm really trying to book more corporate clients specifically, and we run an ad on LinkedIn, and now we're dropping them onto this page, but your page looks filled with weddings and events and you also do corporate, you're going to get a drop off there. You're going to get someone who is going to bounce. So it's really important for us to create single call to action landing pages that speak to what exactly that client is looking for. So the solution here is to actually stand up a page that is really built for them, that shows them. So they've clicked on this LinkedIn ad, and now they are going to this specific page that talks about corporate events and what you can do for them and how they can connect with you, and shows them exactly what they can expect from working with you. Does that make sense? So this is a perfect example of a landing page that we've recently optimized. So it takes basically, if you're taking like three different buckets of clients, right? So I'm going to use, again, luxury planner. You have corporate clients, social clients, and of course, weddings and events. We can change the messaging and the ad creative to align with that person. So that is really how you're personalizing the experience and creating less drop off. This also allows you to have more information and understand what people are connecting with. Maybe the message isn't right, so you need to tweak it. It's not a like perfect one-to-one science, but it gives you information so that you get to the place where you have all the information to change your strategy, change your sales approach even. I love a good visual. So I think it's important to see a great example of a landing page on the left-hand side, and then one that is going to absolutely completely underperform. The one on the right is incredibly presumptuous, where the one on the left is actually guiding you through, again, exactly what to expect and how you can connect with them and how they're different. And then again, giving you the option to connect with them socially or otherwise. So the job of your website isn't to close that client, it's to capture the interest of that client without so much pressure. So again, we're trying to continue to warm up. Again, I call it flirting, but it's the opportunity to connect with them, and again, see if you both are ideal for each other. So it will allow you to again, continue to find the right people and identify each other as the right partners. Now, if you're asking yourself, like, do I need to be in all of these places? Like, I only have this amount of money, time, energy. No, what I really want you to think about is utilizing Google Analytics as the ultimate tool. This will allow you to see the reality, not just a guess, the reality of where your clients are coming from. It will also allow you to see where there's opportunity for growth. So if you know that your competitors are getting a ton of clients from TikTok and there's no traffic coming from TikTok, then maybe you also invest some time or energy there. If you are just not getting your ideal client at all, then we need to find them and we need to take a deep dive into why, build different messages and build different landing pages so that we can focus again on a couple of different pieces and doing them really, really, really well. The biggest variable between successful campaigns and not, unfortunately, again, I cannot underscore this enough, is the level of content. Bad content will just perform really badly no matter how much money you spend on it. It's not the algorithms. I think it's really wild when people are like, the algorithms hate me. It's not the algorithms, it's your content, and you're speaking maybe to yourself only and showing what you want to show for your own, for yourself versus what your audience wants to see, which is kind of a hard distinction. All right. So CRMs, transparently, I think, and I will be very honest, that a year ago when we started this conversation about CRMs, I was like, I think we're maybe a little too small for this. That is not true. If you are thinking like, I don't know if this is right for me, I want you to think about it like this: how much money, time, energy, effort you have spent to get the one person to your website. How many times can we continue to connect with them with different messages so that they actually convert for you? And that one buyer could be, I mean, they're high value client, right? Potential client. So that is why spending time and energy to build funnels and messages, and this is where you can really utilize AI, is so important, so you can continue to nurture that experience and that relationship. I know there's a couple of production houses in this call. So if you're a production house, think about it like this: How can you add value by staying top of mind? Can you share a roundup of some fresh corporate designs? Say you want to do more corporate, or you are trying to expand. You've done so much corporate and you're trying to expand your weddings. How can you send different messages of really fresh content that you think is going to connect with them? If you've been doing some, guest appearances on podcasts, how can you take that message and put it in an email? Or expand upon a blog post that you just wrote up that's doing really well and put that in an email. Email still very, very, very much performs and converts because it is getting out of the fray. For better, for worse, social media is congested. So we need to think about all the ways with which we can connect in a different way. All right. So more stats because we love them. 79% of marketing leads never convert without proper nurturing, which means, again, leaving money on the table. That means that they've contacted you one time, they're evaluating other people, and y'all aren't calling them and following up. This is like an epidemic in the events industry where people are afraid to follow up. And if you are not following up, your competitor is. So this is so, so important. If you've spent money on paid ads and you are getting the lead and you're not reaching out a second or third time, or you are not calling them or texting them, we are leaving money on the table. Last year, we decided to start the process of building a CRM out of necessity for ourselves, frankly. And it has allowed us to take the thousands and thousands of email addresses that we have received from attending events like Engage or, those types of events, and then actually nurture those relationships. A lot of you in here I met years ago, or we haven't met at all. And it's exactly that. It's different messages that connect with people at the right time. It's an opportunity for you to re-engage clients. If you're a planner and you're like, how is this relevant to me? How can you share weddings and events that you've done because you know that that person it has friends or family members that are all within that stage of life that you can, have as potential clients. I wanted to share this real life example of a medium-sized business that we executed this exact strategy on. They are a floral design house, and we increased their qualified bookings and generated $3 million in revenue just from deploying these strategies. And we did a number of different things to kind of warm them up. So this is kind of a breakdown of visually what we did. We wanted to make sure that we were building brand leadership and expertise in floral and event design and production. That means across social media, like very, very much so on social media. We wanted to make sure that we were showcasing live events and live moments. We wanted to show how they could handle when things go sideways and then how they solve that problem. Showing that process doesn't make you incapable or make you flawed. It actually shows how you can be trusted for when shit hits the fan. That is really, really important. That's what people are paying for, is that smooth, effortless feel, right? Then we created editorial style content that communicated that this isn't just decor, this is production, that we operate as a brand at the highest level. This is continuously showcasing their capability and giving confidence in all the things that we were showing and selling, essentially. Then we also humanized the brand a bit. We wanted people to connect with the people behind the brand. And that was through BTS, that was through, getting on TikTok and showing, again, some of the uglies or imperfections. And that really helped to make a difference. We then evaluated that content and pulled the best performing pieces and created different messages based on their different goals. So they were also trying to reach planners for weddings, corporate and social events. And so we started running ads on Meta and Google and created different types of landing pages so that people could land based on what they were most interested in and could see exactly what this company was capable of. We then had very regular, and still do have very regular, meetings on the progress of the conversation. So once the lead came in, what's happening? again, the follow-ups, like, oh my gosh, the follow-up game is so important here. So we could actually see where that conversation is in the funnel. Is there a proposal out? Were they not qualified? Like what's going on? Is it a no for now? Like what's happening? And so we were able to drill down and then again attribute all of these efforts to all of this additional money that was generated for this company. So what we have found, and that for all of us, whether you're the business owner or, spending so much time working in marketing to find your right people, like that is so essential. These were the results of what we did for our partner. Super effective. And again, this wasn't just like one campaign or our first go around. It's a relationship. In order to be successful, you have to have a deep relationship and really like be in it together and have the conversations that like this one was great and this one was not great. And it's not a silver bullet, but you can get to a place where it's incredibly impactful. All right, I'm about to lose my voice, but I really wanted to leave you with this, that 2026 is really about creating cohesive ecosystems in order to drive growth. So that means ads, that means website, that means CRM. These things don't need to operate in silos. None of your social or digital footprint should operate in silos. You need to think about the ones that you can take on and execute really, really well and not be overwhelmed by all of the noise, but just really double down on who you want to speak to, and that's how you'll be successful. All right, one last thing for you. As a thank you to all of you for spending all this time. If you are not a TMS partner, we would love for you to reach out to us. So this is a scan for a marketing audit. So we'll review your website, your CRM flow if you have that. We can guide you on a paid strategy. We can even look at social as well. So take a screenshot, submit this to us. We would love to have a deeper conversation for you. And I'm going to open it up to questions and hopefully this is insightful. You guys can hit me with it. Be shy.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
Okay, so you were saying that we shouldn't put on our Instagram or anything like that, like book now, message me, contact me, that kind of stuff, the call to action. So if we aren't doing a call to action, what would you say that we should do instead? Or do we just not? Do we just nix it completely? Because like you said, the luxury clientele, they know what they know what we want them to do, kind of a thing.
You don't need to state it. We all know where to find your bio and how they can connect with you. And I know like even thinking 5 years ago, I mean, that was different. Even 3 years ago, that was different. But it is pretty clear as to what people want. Um, so yeah, I would say don't do that. Like it's not necessary. Yeah. Just tell them, like
Okay.
show
And
them versus tell them.
that makes sense. Okay. And if we aren't quite into the luxury clientele, we're like still on the lovely, and we
Mhm.
kind of have to like for me, like I have to market to the lovely people right now. I
Mhm.
don't have luxury yet.
Mhm.
Um, do we is that still the same, like, across the board? Do you think budget, luxury, lovely, is that kind of across the board, no call to actions?
So here's the thing. If you want this clientele, you can speak to this clientele and it will connect with this group of people as well from time to time. I suggest if you are trying to like leapfrog into a different price point, you cannot not speak to this group of people. So I would still encourage you to not put that there because again, it's obvious. Like we all know where to find a link in someone's bio. Like that's how we're all shopping for things at this point, right? So I think that it's super, super clear. And it's one thing you could do that encourages people to reach out but doesn't hit them in the face with it or state it is that you can like in your stories link to your contact us page and just literally put the link sign in like when you're linking it out. Does that make sense? Because what are you asking for them to reach out to you, right?
Yes, that makes sense.
Yeah. It's like being a little chicer about it. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Of course. What else? Hi, Lily.
Hi.
How are
Hi.
you?
Good. I miss you guys.
We miss you too.
Ah. So I have by the way, I love this whole thing.
Good.
So
Good.
insightful. I'm gonna kill my business partner for not coming on,
It's
but
all,
I've been writing all notes for her.
all
So
good.
I have a question.
Mhm.
So yesterday we dealt with a client, well, not really officially a client yet, and she approached us a few times and she kept, threatening us to that, I spoke to a few other party planners and your pricing is just a little bit too high, expecting us to lower our price.
Mhm.
Um, so, how do I respond to that? Like, we're not going to lower our price,
Mhm.
and happens to be this person is, uh, you know, actually she's pretty, she has a lot of other
Mhm.
connections,
Mhm.
so I can't really put her down, but at the same time, like I find that it's not a good fit, and I don't want her to spread the word that will jeopardize our company. So like I'm in
Yeah.
a situation where everyone knows everyone.
Yeah,
So
of course. And honestly, same. So one thing that I've done, and this is the first year that I've ever done this, is when you see a red flag,
mm,
it's never gonna go right, especially when that person does try to beat you down and have you lower your price. They're going to be the worst. Like they're going to be the worst and they're going to make you not profitable. And so I think it is totally fine to politely say like this is what it is and it's because we spend X amount of hours investing in your party or in your event and we would love to work with you. But we understand if we aren't a good fit for you. And then you leave it on them to make that decision, but you are not compromising your price point and you're holding firm. Do not, please, everyone, please do not change your prices because someone who really understands what you're doing and your value wouldn't ask that of you, period.
it's funny, we said something along those lines, and she ended up getting, she hung up and ended up getting my first cousin to call me up.
Yeah, I mean, of course, I mean, this is the
And
thing.
and then she tried to, was like, you're and this is actually good to know for people that have business partners. She's like, my cousin was like, this client's not really liking my
Hmm.
business partner. My business partner is very stern,
Hmm.
which,
Yeah.
very stern. She won't let anyone step all over me or us.
Hmm.
So it was like kind of icky going behind my
Hmm.
they going behind my business partner's back, and felt
Oh,
like
wow.
they felt like a third, in our little,
Yeah.
it was, to me, that was my red flag, was trying to get me in
Oh,
between my
yeah.
relationship with my business partner. So
Totally.
I
Totally. It's
think,
happened to me, frankly, as well. I mean,
yeah,
it's happened to me because I'm not everyone's cup of tea, and some people will, and that's okay. Like, that's okay. But what I am firm on is I know the value that my company is bringing to our partners, period. And like that energy, holy cow, no matter where you are in the phase of your business and trying to grow it, that person is a flaming red flag.
yeah,
But yeah,
try to
definitely
break up
message
my little
me.
marriage over
There you
here.
go. Exactly. Revi, I see your hand up.
Yes, thank you.
Of course.
Um, I totally get what you're saying that the messaging in each platform has to be different.
Hmm.
But what about we are with a headcount very reduced in our marketing department. And sometimes my boss or the brand director, they say, no, 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 let's put the same mirror reels and posting in all across the platforms. It's better to have that just focus on one and a couple of platforms. For example, I used to have for the Cabo weddings only Pinterest in Instagram because my headcount is very reduced. They do, I mean, the social media guys, they go to the events, they do the content creation, editing, blah, 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 blah. So
Hmm.
it's just one person for two brands.
Hmm.
So to have like different posts and messaging for different platforms for me is really
That's
uh,
a lot.
difficult. What
Mhm.
would you recommend to have everything and with the same messaging, or just focus on a couple of platforms?
So, my suggestion, and by the way, I think this is such a real experience that so many people can relate to, where, I mean, this year, it's just been a different kind of year, right? For a lot of businesses. So, what I would suggest is how many times are you posting on all of these different channels? And like evaluate that. If you're posting every day, that is not necessary. How can you post 3 times a week really well? And double down on one or two platforms. Like it is not doing what we think it's doing at all just by being repetitive. Like in fact, this generation is too smart for that. Like they actually hate it and it makes them feel cringe. And so we have to like do it or don't do it. So I would say like look at how frequently you're posting that content and then how can you tweak it and be slightly consistent on another platform as well. But you don't need to be everywhere if you don't have the resources to do that. And certainly copying and pasting across the board is like not good.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, of course. What else? Any other questions?
Oh, sorry. Could I just have a mocha, please? Sure. Is there going to be a pot with milk?
I'm gonna mute you,
Can
Maria.
you,
I have a question.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
I'm curious, today's day and age with Instagram. Here, I'll turn my camera on. Be a
Hi,
person.
friend.
Hi. I was just wondering today on Instagram, obviously everybody loves collabs.
Mhm,
And vendors will try to collab with everybody, but I also
mhm,
feel like that dilutes our own Instagram and our own voice. And then it
mhm,
also buries us within the four others, five
mhm,
others that are collabed with. So I
mhm,
guess my question is, how can you strategically use a collab, not
mhm,
hurt anybody's feelings and not favor partners?
mhm.
But use it to boost yourself and also, give and take a little bit is my.
Yeah, I love this question so much because I think that a lot of people are using collabs as a strategy, and it's like a short-term strategy because Instagram's going to change things again, and then what, right? I totally agree with what you're saying, which is oftentimes you'll go on someone's page and you're like, I don't even like, did I land on the right page? Because all you're seeing is other people's names and you've completely washed out your brand identity altogether, right? And your narrative. When I think it is appropriate is if the brand with which you are collaborating with will actually increase like the visibility to your ideal client. So, for example, we just did an event with the Rosewood in Turtle Creek here in Dallas, and a lot of our partners were on it. And so that brand is aligned with a lot of our clients' brands. And so, like, yes, that completely made sense. We made sure that the message was super neutral too, so that it could be deployed effectively and make sense for everybody as much as possible, right? But I am not a believer in having every single collab like on your grid. Now, here's the hack. You can approve all of those collab posts and then hide them off your grid so that everyone feels like they're getting love and getting loved on, and you can still have the effect of a collab without completely destroying your feed and all of your strategy. So that would be my
I guess I
suggestion.
would
Yeah.
wonder because we also manage two venues, and so we'll collab with our venues because we don't have enough resources to
Mhm.
fill our venue, like to manage two additional Instagram pages. Do you feel like in a situation like that where it's still our brand voice, but
Mhm.
giving credit to the venues as
Mhm.
well, like that's still damaging to our own voice, or is that okay because we're still in control?
I would rather, that's a tough one. I think if you can post and carve out even a sliver of time where you're doing a 9 grid. And even if you drop it all at the same time, so there's something current there, that's better than like only doing collabs back and forth because again, it's just I mean, we're all seeing it. It's like, whose post was this? And like, did I land on the wrong place? It gets very confusing as the buyer, right? No matter where you are, what business you're in. So, yeah, I know that's not like the,
No, that's helpful.
you
That's
know,
helpful. Thank
I'm
you.
like, I know that's going to add a little work, but I do think like at least having a 9 grid like dropped all at the same time is better than just like constantly accepting.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. What else?
I have one more question,
Yeah.
and this is a quick question.
Yeah.
You mentioned something about like I'm a planner, but right now we are doing bar and bat mitzvahs, and my goal is destination weddings. I've told you this a million times,
Mhm.
but you said you want to cater to that type of client. You want to have that separate info, but how
Mhm.
do I
What do you do?
how do I do that if I don't even have a wedding on my plate to convince
Totally.
you that I could do a wedding?
Okay. So I call this like future tripping. So if you're a talented anything, like insert whatever your service is, this is a skill set that is the same skill set to do a mitzvah as it is to do a wedding, as it is to do right? So, and I think sometimes people get stuck, even with us. They're like, well, you do like weddings and events. There's a partner on here that's a big law firm. It's the same audience, like a luxury audience is the same, different strategies, but like we know it's the same types of services essentially, right? So my suggestion is to share a lot of travel content and say like we're looking to do a wedding here and show mood boards and inspiration. And I'm not talking about pulling other people's like events. I'm talking about like, can you double down on like some of the interiors, some of the textures, like things of that nature that show what you're capable of doing there and also invite people to ask you when they can do a wedding with you. We did this with Kate and Co. a couple of years ago, and she really wanted to do more weddings in Portugal. And she had not done a wedding in Portugal, but we made it seem like she had done a wedding in Portugal and until she did. And then she got the next one, and then the next one. It was just like, if you're able to do it here, then you're able to do it there.
So, you said, put up the mood boards and stuff like that, but I have this thing where what if my competitors are copying my ideas, which we pretty much do sometimes. Don't
They do
care.
me too. They
Huh?
all they all do. And that's the reality. And I've been thinking about sharing something about this because I think you're doing more of a disservice to yourself by not posting something about your business, like than worrying about what your competitor is going to take from you. Like you're either going to be the right fit or you're not for that client, right? Like that's the truth. And that comes down to everything that we've been talking about today. But if they're going to take something that is your original thought and they're not able to execute it like that,
Sure.
you know?
Then Val has a question. She wants
Yeah.
to know, with Instagram posting, she said, how come, posting your vendors?
Mhm.
She's like, I can't believe this, we have to post our vendors. What if they take our vendors? So I guess that pretty much aligns to what you just said. So
Yeah.
I'll give her that.
Don't worry about that. I think it's worse. Like we're all building relationships here. I think it's worse to not share the talent behind the event. Like a lot of us here are small or medium-sized businesses. Like share your vendors, share
That's
who
what
you
I,
like
yeah.
made it a reality, because that's how you're going to build loyalty. And you'll find there will be tons of people giving you business. And so I'm like loud and proud.
Okay.
Proud, yeah. So Eddie said, for a collab, do you recommend pushing to be an initiator of the campaign? 100%. So especially if you're a planner or producer, if you're like the visionary behind the vision, I encourage you to be the person to say like, we are going to be responsible for dropping this collab and inviting everyone to participate, because then you're kind of owning the control of the narrative. And I always prefer that. Yeah.
But isn't that hard if you're working with a bigger vendor or company that are more known than you? Like what I've told you, when I worked with a production company, it felt like we were
Sometimes,
so
but I also think that you're the planner and you're the reason that this event transpired to begin with. So you have the ability to actually push back
or
on
just
that.
be stronger on that.
Yeah, totally. Totally. These are great questions. What else? I know there's a lot of technical in here, but I wanted to go a little bit more technical because I think it's helpful, and I think it's really hard to find the right resources that can make sense of like, what do I do with my time if time is so limited? Awesome. All right, guys. Well, I appreciate you all coming, and thanks for dealing with my voice and my Zoom issues at the beginning. But I am so happy that you came. Oh, Maria has one last one. On the collab, how do you push back when the planner has a different take? I think it's a conversation that needs to just be had. So maybe you go back and forth and say, like, I'm going to initiate one, you initiate one. So that's how you can kind of like, I know that's tough. It's definitely tough. But I think being diplomatic and making sure that you're preserving the relationship is key. All right, guys, I am so
Do you
grateful.
have just a couple more minutes?
Yeah,
I have a question. Okay, you
yeah.
were talking about storytelling,
Mhm,
and you said something like, "Ask me how to best storytell" or something like that.
mhm.
So I'm asking.
Okay,
How do
great.
you-
Great. So you're an officiant, right?
No, I'm a destination wedding planner,
Oh,
actually.
okay, amazing. I didn't realize that. Okay, so if you are a planner, then get video of you doing your job and speak, like put audio to it, and write about it. And if you're like worried about what to say, then write about like what you were doing and what the client asked for and how you made it a reality. Or can you show your process from a design perspective? Or how did you land with this venue? And what were the challenges that happened and how you overcame them? I think one of the best examples of someone who has shown all of like the uglies and then showed how they are the right solution is LLG Events. She does something called Wedding Planner or Planner POV. And I mean, she talks about like crazy things that happened and how she solved for them so that no matter what happens, because we all know that things do happen, she was able to handle everything that came at her team and for our clients so that the experience was still seamless. So that would definitely be my suggestion.
Okay, and you were saying that we don't have to, which I hope this is correct, that we
Mhm.
don't have to like actually talk to the camera anymore. A voiceover of, us doing our job or our process kind of a thing is okay. We don't have to like literally speak to the camera anymore.
Yeah, it's so much chicer
Okay.
too. I mean, I think that we're like pushing the issue because someone said, and I might have said this years ago, like to talk to the camera because that's how you're going to make connection. In certain instances, yes, but if that's not authentic to you, like I'm such a big believer in doubling down on what's authentic to you and not forcing it. Because we've all seen, I mean, there's so many people out there with mini mics that you're like, this woman is in pain talking to the camera, someone is feeding her a line and it does not come across as authentic. No, don't do that. You know?
Okay, thank you.
One more question, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no.
What do you think about podcasts?
I love podcasts. I'm a huge believer in podcasts, especially if you can guest on them, because it's a lot of work. I have one. Go listen to it, Persephone says. It's a lot of work. And so you need to make sure that you have enough to talk about and enough of an audience for people to want to continue to listen in. Thanks, Jessica. And so, I mean, I had a great format as to what I was going to do and experiment with, but if you're like, oh shit, like after episode 5, what are we going to discuss? Then don't do it. If it's not going to be consistent, then don't do it. But if you have the opportunity to guest on someone's podcast, reach out to people because people are always looking for guests. And then you can take that content, use it a million different ways. I just like, I don't know if you guys have seen this podcast going around. Eddie and I always send it back and forth. There are so many people who actually are saying nothing that are like being positioned like they're saying something amazing. And there's this soundbite that says like, if you love your job, then job your love. That like that person, like I don't even know what's happening in that situation. And so don't do that if you have nothing to say. To me, that's like a perfect example of like this person actually had no perspective that they said job your love. Like goodbye. So in short, yes, but be consistent. Yes, but guest on other people's as much as possible. Yeah. Anything, I know it's horrible. I was just recording a podcast with Rich, who's my colleague on here, and I was saying like we're doing an ongoing series about pet peeves, and like that's one of them is those pet peeves. I knew you were gonna come on. Those pet peeves where like I just can't listen to it. And it seems so serious. And it's like, it's okay if you don't have a perspective because it's a little crazy to talk to yourself for 30 minutes. And I guess I can label myself as a crazy person because I can. So at least have an angle. Thank you, Anna. Thanks for listening in. Anybody else? This is so great. I really appreciate everyone's time and extra time to talk with me. And I hope it's helpful. Awesome. All right, guys, thank you. It means so much. Like I said, we will send you a link to this on Spotify later on this week or top of next week. But if you have any questions or you want to participate in that audit, definitely shoot me a message or fill out that form with the QR code. Otherwise, thank you again, and I'll talk to you guys soon.
Can I ask a question about your audit?
Yeah.
It's more of like who it's for. So I also said I'm a destination wedding planner. The issue that I am facing is kind of like I think what Lily was saying, maybe, or no, somebody else was saying, where I haven't done destination weddings yet. I've been on the travel side of it, and I've been in the hotel side of weddings, but I have nothing to show for
That's
my
okay.
years and years of experience.
Okay. That's okay.
And
Then
so,
you need a plan.
yeah, so what you told her was great because it's like, oh, that makes so much sense because that's what I've been struggling with. How do I show them that I can take all of this experience that I have in wedding planning, actually, but I don't have anything to show for it because they're the hotel's pictures, you know.
Oh, good.
And it's like, how do I show them that I can do it in all these destinations that I've planned to travel to instead? And so for the audit, is it like should I wait to do it like I until I can have something tangible? I have a website, I have all that stuff.
Yeah.
Is it would it be worth your time to do an audit on
It
me?
would.
Is really what I'm asking. Okay.
Yes, it would because especially if your website, like I want to look at your website because that will then be step one for us.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you.
Great job. Awesome. All right, guys. Thank you so much. We'll talk soon. I appreciate everybody. Ciao, till next time.